Alright, so I recently did a video on how to set up a scope tracking test. In that video I go through and I show how you can set up what is known as the true stick to figure out how close to true your scope's turrets are tracking to whatever unit of measurement they're supposed to be tracking to. And in that video I used the Hilux Pentalux and it absolutely tracked perfectly, which was absolutely incredible. And in that video I also said that I would be going back through and doing tracking test videos on a lot of the other scopes that I have, just to put out some information. Now also keep in mind that each of these scopes are a sample size of 1. So just because my particular sample of one scope of a certain model of a certain brand tracks to a certain percentage doesn't mean that yours is going to track the exact same way. So you still need to be sure that you can have the numbers exactly correct. You still need to go back through and do your own tracking tests on your own scopes. But this does give you an idea of how much of a variance in each type of scope that you might possibly see. So in this video, we're going to use the Ares BTR. Now, Ares BTR is a fairly common scope. I have a few scopes that are fairly common that a lot of people have, and I think it'd be very good for people to see the types of variances they might get, and to know that those variances are typical and not really anything to worry about and how to correct those. So, we're using the Ares BTR here, the 4.5-27x50, and I've had this scope on my 7 SOM here for quite a while. It's the same scope that I've been using for a lot of the ELR shots that you guys have recently seen, and I did a tracking test on this scope when I first got it, and I was very surprised to see that this scope was still to this day, after 2 years, been on this, and I've never done another tracking test, that it's still to this day tracking to the exact same percentage that it was the first day that I got it. So very happy to see that nothing has changed. That means all my data entries are correct. So here you go. This is the tracking test with the Athlon Ares BTR 4.5-27x50.
10 mils of tracking. Here we go. Okay, so that is 5 mils, so it looks like we're about a 1/2 tenth off. And there is, so looks like we're tracking about between 99 and 98%. So that is not bad for a scope of this quality. I'd like it to be a little bit higher, but that is the tracking with the Athlon Ares BTR. Now let's return to 0 here. One too many. Alright, so perfect return to 0. Alright, so 99 to about 98.5%.
Alright, so there you have it. That is the Athlon Ares BTR 4.5-27x50 tracking test. Now that tracked to 98.5%. 98.5% is incredibly good. There are a lot of scopes that you will find that you would expect to track 100% true that don't even meet 98.5%. As a matter of fact, if I have a scope that is tracking 99% or above, I don't even bother making adjustments for that in my ballistic solver. So what you can do if you have a scope that is, now I actually have this scope entered in my applied ballistic solver at 98.5% and has been for the last 2 years. And if you have a scope that is tracking at below 99%, it's very easy to make a correction for that in your ballistic solver. So most ballistic solvers, when you're setting up your rifle's data, have a section that allows you to input the percentage to which your scope is tracking true. So I have 98.5%, and that has allowed me to get many first round impacts at all those ELR distances, and even very close at some crazy extreme long distances. So it is very simple. It's a very simple fix, and as long as you have the right number for which your scope is actually tracking to entered in your ballistic solver will go through and make up the proper corrections that it needs to at each distance. And then it's very easy to write those down and have paper form of your actual drop chart. So this has been the tracking test for the Ares BTR here. Like I said, this is a sample size of 1, so just because this particular scope of one sample of 1 tracked to this doesn't mean that your Ares BTR isn't going to track 100% or isn't going to track at 96%. You need to do your own tracking test. This gives you an idea of how a scope like this can have some variance in its tracking and is not always at 100%, so don't always expect that to be the case. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you guys next time. Hope you guys want to see more tracking tests. I'm out.